Hi, everyone. Well, first, I would like to invite you to close your eyes and think of a moment when you didn't feel heard. It can be a moment with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family, or someone else. And I will give you a few seconds to reflect about it. If you have something to write down, I would like you write the feelings that you experienced at that moment. And if you're still with your closed eyes, you can open them. Have asked this question before. These are some words that I have here. Isolated, angry, hurt, invisible, lonely, sad. But what happens when we are the reason someone else feels this way? I have spent all my life thinking on what to say next instead of listening genuinely to others. If I think in the first moment when I truly was aware about it, it was a long time ago. I was at university in a conversation with my friend, and she was telling me a story. She was very excited telling me this story, and I interrupt her. She was so mad at me, she was annoyed, and she just completely lost interest in telling me the story. I didn't know the end of that story actually. And I felt very bad. I felt terrible because it wasn't my intention, but at the end of the day, I didn't listen to her and I hurt her. Maybe you have been in one of these sides on a conversation, or maybe in both during all your life. And at that moment, I also felt I didn't have the right tools to listen to others, because this is the way I have experienced growing up in my family, with friends, with colleagues, and in different spaces. We live in a world that rewards talking instead of listening. And I would like to say I changed and now I'm very good listening to, but that's not true. But I have found some tools along the way, especially in community work, that I would like to share with you today. So this is what we usually do. First, we listen to reply. We are so focused in a conversation, so what we will say next, instead of genuinely listening to others. And second, we just like jump straight into action. We think about how to connect with people, how to connect people between each other. We are so focused on activities and that event, and don't get me wrong, that's a very good spirit. I think it's a very good spirit for all people working in communities especially, but we need to think first on what people want to do instead like what we think they want to do, or what we want to do ourselves. And third, we just approach to conversations and to meetings and to different spaces, because we are also very busy people with different roles. That's the point too. But we approach the conversation thinking about our own agenda or solutions. Like we have like this in mind. We get like some goals ready, what we want, what we can get from people, and just like thinking a moment like what happened when you go to these spaces or conversations without an agenda, that you can explore and build infinite possibilities together. Sometimes it's about stepping back to listen, reflect together, and co-create. So the power of active listening starts because first, it allows to connect deeply with people. For example, at Beyond Bath Talks is a series of events I designed with Bath Welcomes Refugees. We designed originally these spaces to raise awareness around migration from stories of migrants, refugees, and people on the move. But I soon realized that these spaces were doing something else. These spaces were providing the space to people to be listened, to say their stories in a place they feel truly safe, and that build confidence on people, but also build a connection with the others, and all of that build this trust in each other and a sense of belonging, because people start to recognize in the stories of others, and this is what we want to achieve in our communities. And the third reason why I think active listening is so important, I think this is the most important element, is because empower people to take action. So the question that we can do ourselves is like, how can I start with listening, but after, how can I go from listening to action in our communities? One example of this, it was with the Nets or Nature program by the Wildlife Trust. We shift from a traditional community engagement approach to a community organizing way of working, where we prioritize active listening and other principles of this way of working. And applying that, we reach 1,600 local communities all across the UK, engaged to take action in nature and climate change. And also this impact in the way like the staff and the 46 local organizations as part of the movement, they interact each other, they connect each other, but most important is like how they reach and work with diverse communities. And all of this start because people were listening and like were intentionally listening to each other and put that at the center of the program and at the center of the strategy. But how do we achieve all of that? I will share like 4 tools that can help me during all these programs and all this work. First is about listening fully. When we think about listening fully, we need to think about how to be present with our bodies and with our posture, with eyes. And of course, this could be different for each person. So I think each of us needs to find the way that how I can be present in a conversation and online or offline. And also thinking about the silence as part of the listening. I think that's a very important part that we always forget, or we just get uncomfortable with the silence in the part of listening. And when we Otto Scharmer theory, he proposed 4 levels of listening, that it comes from downloading information, factual, empathetic, and generative. We will focus today in generative. And generative listening is about like when you feel this type of listening is about when you feel energized, you feel uplifted, you feel alive, you feel like inspired to do something. So I invite you to reflect about this type of listening and to apply in the spaces where you are listening to your community, how you get like this feeling in these spaces. The next one is about how we can connect with emotions and motivations, because when we pay attention closely to emotions and motivations, we can understand fully the concerns, the hopes, and what drive people actually to do what they want to do. And for this, I invite you in your next conversation, it could be today or during the week, I invite you in your next 2 conversations. First, focus only in the facts. Like try to just like listening to the person only on the facts. This is only for the exercise, not all the time. And the second conversation, focus only on the emotions, like what this person is telling me from the emotions. And after, just reflect by yourself or with a friend, with like whatever the way you find easier for you, and reflect and notice the difference, because this simple exercise will help you to understand your own habits, and this help you to be more intentional in the next time when you listen to in your community or like in your life actually. And the third is about thinking in phases and formats. Most of the people think like listen is only very at the beginning of the project, very at the beginning of the community, when we are building the community, but it's not a one-time event. It's like go through all the processes. So take your strategy and strategize your listening spaces too, put in all the phases of your strategy and in different formats. So think depends on the characteristic of your community. It could be like one-to-one, it could be small discussions, it could be broader interactions. I recommend always try like these 3 kind of spaces. We understand we can't have one-to-one when we have like 20K members communities, but we just don't do, like we just need to do like in certain way, not with all of them, but we can do in certain way. So it's just like it's our responsibility reflecting about these phases and these formats during all the time, and not thinking only at the beginning. And the fourth is about thinking about this a constant learning process. So it's something like you need to keep going, keep reflecting, ask for feedback to the people like about these spaces as well, and how you can, yeah, just like keep going with this in like be patient with yourself, like it's a constant learning process. So now I would like to go back, and I would like that you think in a moment that you feel truly heard, like you feel like someone was listening to you. How did that make you feel? You can close your eyes again, or you can just think about it for a few seconds. Accepted, confident, safe, motivated, inspired, empowered, encouraged, respected, visible. This is the kind of spaces we can build in our communities if we start listening to them. So let's commit to build communities where everyone feels heard, represented, and safe sharing their stories. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today. This is the way to contact me or on LinkedIn, and I am happy to have a chat today to get more about this. Thank you.